start the webinar. And Megan, I noticed that the recording has started, so I'll have to be remembered to stop it at the end. And I'll try to remember. All right, well, welcome everyone. I see that people are coming into the room. We opened it slightly given the size of the audience, which is fantastic. We're very excited to have every one of you today. And we're going to get started in a couple minutes. Get comfortable. It's going to be a very exciting day. All right, well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the 2021 Activity Strong Summit. My name is Charles de Vermeuren. I am the CEO and co-founder of Linked Senior. And before we get started, I want to do a little bit of just housekeeping. This is the first session of our Activity Strong Summit. And in order to get CUs, which you can get up to 6 NAB, NCAP, NCTRC, and or NCCDP that are available, you need to attend the full session for which you're applying, so as many as 6, at least 1. You need to fill out the CU survey no later than midnight on Friday, June 25th, so we can process the certificate of attendance. Please note that due to the high number of attendees, certificates will be sent out via email throughout the week of June 28th and no later than July 2nd by the end of the day. If you have any questions, we set up this new email address called webinars@linksenior.com. I will also note the fact that today's session is being recorded. It's actually live on both Zoom and Facebook live, but to get credit for your attendance and the CU, you need to be logged into the Zoom. Also, for people that are new to Zoom, and I'm sure none of you are new to Zoom, but just so you know, the chat feature, if you want to chat to the whole audience, you need to select all panelists and attendees. And the last thing I'll mention today is the bingo word for the ones that are playing our virtual bingo is activity. And so each session will have one word, so please stay on throughout the day. So with that, I want to introduce us to our fantastic moderator, Matthew Guilfoyle from Activity Connection. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it. It's nice to see everyone out there today. I can still see some folks trickling in. I say, no running back there, no pushing, no shoving. There's enough seats to go around at this virtual event for everyone. Don't want to see anybody getting injured for this virtual summit this year. As you can see from the slide on your screen right now, my name is Matthew Guilfoyle. I'm the president of Activity Connection, and it's such a pleasure to be with you here this morning. I've been looking forward to this event for months, literally, and I'll be the moderator of our first segment of the day, Voice of Activity and Life Enrichment Directors. It's going to be great, but before we get there, I want to spend a little time on something else because this really needs to be called out in the best way, of course. I'd like everybody, please join me in thanking our gracious hosts of this wonderful event, Link Senior. Go ahead and advance that slide, please, Charles. So thank you, Link Senior, for putting on this wonderful event. You know, putting on the virtual summit each year, it's no small feat. I'd just like to pause for a moment to recognize that. And of course, Link Senior is an industry leader with their resident engagement platform, serving senior living. And of course, they're also the founder of Activity Strong. Now, we at Activity Connection, who I'm representing today, we first became a partner of Activity Strong, supporting the Activity Strong program library. I'm going to touch on that for just a moment. This is a free resource for you, okay? But also it's an opportunity to show off some of your best work and offer it for others to use. Okay, so the vision for this is a crowdsourced resource. This is something that we hope grows over time, the more we all use it, to provide more value to the industry outside of any paywall, so for free. We're happy and proud to be a part of this Activity Strong program library. I invite you to check this resource out if you haven't already, so jot down this URL if you don't have it saved to your favorites just yet. That's programs.activitystrong.com. I invite you to check that out. Slide, please, Charles. Now, this is what I've really been waiting and to say to you all, and I've been so excited for today. Thank you, all of you, for what you do every single day. We see you, and the work you do is absolutely essential. I don't know if you hear that enough in your roles. You are heroes. And I'm not just talking about during this pandemic. Every single day doing the work you do, you're truly heroes. Today is your day, so I want you to enjoy it. You are Activity Strong. You deserve it. Relax. Soak this day up. Get ready for a wonderful summit. And to help us all get started, I just want to tell a little story. And this is a story about someone just like you. I think you're going to like this. This is a story about someone with a huge heart. And as I've come to get to know this person, I am pretty sure that that huge heart is made of solid gold. Got no doubt about that. This person is someone who's become very influential in my life and our industry. She's service-oriented, she's driven and creative. She's extremely passionate and intelligent. And this makes her just a unique person. Her name is Nancy. Some of you may know Nancy. After getting a master's degree and starting her first career, then taking time off to raise 3 children and care for 2 ailing seniors, Nancy discovered her true passion and decided to make a midlife career change. Does that sound familiar to anybody out there? She followed her passions and she started as an assistant activity director more than 30 years ago. She went on to author 6 manuals for three national companies. She became a national director, overseeing training and program development for 170 communities with all settings and levels of care. She saw a lot. And when Nancy left the senior living corporate world, she was determined to help solve the challenges of the profession she had witnessed and experienced firsthand. Slide, please, Charles. Now, with the help of her son, Doug Ewald, as co-founder, and her husband, Bob, as CFO, Nancy Ewald founded Activity Connection in 1999, and she's devoted herself to expanding and developing Activity Connection ever since, all in an effort to serve you. Now, Activity Connection proudly serves activity professionals in all US states, all Canadian provinces and territories, and in our estimation, we're benefiting over 1.5 million seniors every single month. We're extremely proud of that, 1.5 million seniors every single month. In the simplest terms, our goal is to save all of you time, money, and stress with ready-to-go essential activities appropriate for all settings. Now, as president, I've had the opportunity, of course, to work with Nancy and our talented team. Many of them are activity professionals just like you. And I'm completely inspired to find new ways to serve you. To carry on Nancy's vision and mission, to move it forward, I feel a sense of duty in this. I've chosen this platform to make a pretty big announcement. I'm extremely excited. We're currently redesigning our website. We're working very hard behind the scenes, and we can't wait to bring you more value than ever before in a completely redesigned, simple to use, mobile-friendly website. It should make a lot of you smile. That, simply put, will help you do more to enrich the lives of those you care for. Now, with more than 17,300 communities already signed up using Activity Connection, we are growing strong. And I truly believe we're just getting started. I'd like to ask you, if you have not experienced Activity Connection, please stay tuned. Slide, please, Charles. All right, let's get to the point. I'm here to introduce two amazing people, Elisa Tagg from the National Association of Activity Professionals and Don Worsley from the National Certification Council for Activity Professionals. And now today they'll be discussing Voice of Activity and Life Enrichment Directors, Lesson Learned Post-Pandemic. Slide, please, Charles. Now, Dawn is an activities consultant. She's an educator of person-centered activity services. She's an author and a national speaker. She's here today, of course, representing NCAP, a leading provider in credentialing for person-centered care that ensures the highest quality of life. Slide, please, Charles. Now, I won't try to rattle off all of her many qualifications that you see on this slide, but you can see just how busy and influential Dawn really is in our industry. And as I get into Elisa and with her qualifications with this next slide, please, Charles, you'll see that she's been a certified activity consultant since 2016 and an activity director working primarily in skilled nursing since 1995. Now, she's currently the Association Director of NAP and Executive Director of the Southern Nevada Activity Professional Association. Slide, please, Charles. And I'll pause here while you take in all of the good work that Elisa has been doing. And then behind the scenes, we're going to work our magic to prepare for Elisa and Dawn to take it from here for our first segment of the day, Voice of Activity and Life Enrichment Directors. So once more, thanks again for all you do every single day. You're truly heroes. And it's been my pleasure just to speak with you for just a few moments today. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. We appreciate that. A wonderful introduction. I know it's been a very challenging time for activity professionals across the world. And you know, I think the nice thing about challenges is it brings a lot of excitement. And as we get closer to post-pandemic life and returning back to the old normal, but the real questions are really, what are we going to do about the future? And so I'm really excited to be with you today and to have co-presenting with me Don Worsley, who is a good friend of mine as well. And we've had lots of experiences over the course of many years to express our concerns and our frustrations and our challenges, and also our excitement that comes from being activity professionals. So I'd like to thank Matthew again for that wonderful introduction. And we are appreciative of Activity Connection as well and all that they do to provide for activity professionals. Go ahead, next slide, please, Charles. I want to take a moment and have Dawn, if you would like to say anything to start us off, I would be more than happy to allow that. Not that allow that, you know what I mean, to give you just a few moments to share your thoughts too as we open together.
Absolutely. So, you know, I agree. Elisa, I think that, you know, the great thing is both having NAP and NCAP as kind of the leading authority and voice throughout this pandemic. We've been able to share not only our personal experiences, but also cover the country nationwide, as NCAP is more, you know, very heavy, predominantly located on the East Coast, and NAP, your office is there on the West Coast. We really have gotten a holistic image, and I am excited. You know, I think the vaccination is certainly putting us in a much better place. I was reading some studies that talked about since the vaccination process began in December, that nursing homes, the COVID cases had plunged 83% since where we were this time last year. And thank goodness deaths have dropped by 66%. As of just a month or two ago, there were 4.6 million residents and staff members in nursing homes and other congregated living that had received at least their first shot of the vaccination, whether it's Pfizer and Moderna. So vaccinations are certainly changing everything. And I think this is what kind of, you know, this is what we look for right now. The activity profession, while it may have been underappreciated during the pandemic, it certainly was the striving force behind all the positivity that could come from such a horrible experience with the pandemic. The activity professions step up. They were the ones that were immediately able to identify person-centered interests and how do we deliver those activities. And you know, Elisa, I want to talk about, you know, kind of what you've heard, what I've heard. Now, the last guidance that came from CMS was dated April 27th, 2021, and that's where they talked about the reopening of activity programs and communal dining. And alongside of that is the CDC's guidance that came out on around that same day that talked about programmings with vaccination and how was that determined. So before I get into those type of details, I just wanted to see if there was anything that you would like to add also.
No, thank you for bringing that up. It's very interesting that we have not received guidance from CMS in a couple of months now. I think that's really interesting to think that, you know, now that we are on our own, and as I've talked with professionals across the nation as well, so many are in different ways of reopening and so many are not yet reopened. I was talking with a professional yesterday. She was very excited. She booked her first indoor entertainer that will be coming in 2 weeks. And then I talked with another professional also yesterday, same day, and they were nowhere near letting anybody in, including families. Families were still not able to come into their community. And so it's just a challenging time all around. I appreciate those figures because I think it's important to recognize what can be done when we follow the CDC guidelines. And, you know, and we've been able to do so many amazing things during the course of the pandemic that I think those don't need to go unnoticed as well. You know, that we recognize a lot of the things that we were doing during pandemic are going to continue. And I think that is a really important mindset too, that person-centered individualized care is going to continue. It should have already been happening prior to pandemic, but we are definitely going to be seeing more of that individualization coming about. And I know, Dawn, that you're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. So why don't you go ahead and fill us in a little bit with that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when this time last year, everything was kind of ran at a federal level through CMS. So we had a set of guidance, we knew what we were doing, and we were all kind of following the same thing. And now, as the federal guidance has pulled back, they realized just how significant it is to not only have state guidance, but also local county and city ordinances of the health department providing that guidance. So I think there is, you know, some overall arching similarities. It's just where we all fall in that reopening phase. So a couple terms I want to go over is outbreak status. So what is outbreak status? An outbreak status is one case. That's it. Now here's where the federal guidance a little bit talks about that. Now, if you, let's say you have one outbreak or a couple residents on one unit, the whole building doesn't need to be shut down, at least not on a federal level. So please make sure you're looking at your state and local guidance for anything specific. So the good thing is, what does that mean for programming right now is that now a larger majority of us are able to still do programming, but for residents that are, you know, on an outbreak unit, now it's just that unit that we're keeping with infection control policies and keeping them together and cohorted while the rest of the building, rest of the community will allow to do that. Some of the things when we're talking about what will activities look like, I can tell you personally. So let me just speak some things that I'm living in. So I work in Baltimore, so it's East Coast facility in Maryland. So we do follow all of CDC guidelines, but we're overarchingly guided by the Maryland Health Department. So right now, we're in that space of determining who is vaccinated and who is unvaccinated, because the rules change based upon that. So during the pandemic, when we were allowed to open up in April for communal activities, we had to have one person every 6 feet. So that meant one person at a table. Everyone had to wear a mask, which meant that my activity room that held 30, 40 people could now only hold 11. So with this CDC guidance that talks about the difference between vaccinated and unvaccinated, and again, follow your local health department guidelines. But here's how it's changing in a post-pandemic world, at least for me. So I keep a list of all of our vaccinated residents. Thank goodness we have such a high percentage of vaccinated residents because it makes life easier. So now if everyone in the activity is vaccinated, there's no more social distancing and no more source control, which means masks. They can take their masks off, and now we can truly have that social situation. However, if you have one unvaccinated resident in that activity program, you must go back to social distancing and source control with the masks. So the recommendations were to have residents sign up in advance for activities. Now, I will tell you, we've been working through that process about 3 weeks. That's easier said than done. Residents like to, some of them like a very specific routine, and others like to just get up and decide how they want to spend their day that day. So now what we're seeing in this post-pandemic environment is a combination. I don't want to lose all the positive things that we did during the pandemic. We had more individualized interventions with residents. There was more, I want to say, deeper connection with activities and residents than we did in a pre-pandemic world. Pre-pandemic, we were so focused on corralling as many people into an activity as possible and getting that together. So I think there's a good opportunity for a fine balance of that. Also understanding that residents now, so how have the lives of residents changed? And I want to share that we got a call from an activity professional who wanted to share her experience. She was just starting resident council up in group format. And the first resident council, now she had been using the questionnaire, so they were compliant all through the pandemic, but this was the first time she actually had a group of them in her room. And they sat down and she said, if you didn't know that there was a COVID-19 health pandemic, you would have thought this cohort of residents were sharing war stories. And it was their experiences and their voices about what it was like from a resident perspective to be in a room behind closed doors, have very limited social contact with others. Now, while they understood and they supported it, every single resident said the same thing. Thank God for activity staff. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have you guys, because that was the one stability in their life during the pandemic. And I want us to continue to build on that energy that we see with the residents. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about right now, and then give it back to you, Elisa, and see if there's any other questions that we come up from or anything else we'd like to discuss regarding these three areas.
Well, I think it's really important to recognize, because I've been kind of seeing the comments come through the chats, and everybody is in a different level right now, right? Everybody's either still in full lockdown, or they're fully open, or they're somewhere in between. And I know that can be really frustrating when you read somebody who's fully open and you're still in full lockdown. And I know that can be really frustrating when you are the opposite of what's happening. And I think it's such an important aspect to recognize that so much what you pointed out, Dawn, was really looking at what your local governments are saying. And it has to go even deeper to what your communities are saying. Different corporations are handling the pandemic differently as well. And as the new variant, the Delta variant now is coming out, and we're seeing more and more positive cases from individuals that have been vaccinated. That is a big challenge as well too. And we worry, that could we go through a full shutdown once again? And I think that can be really challenging for each one of us to understand, and know that there is always that potential. And whether it be, you know, a full nationwide quarantine or whether it be a facility specific quarantine, we need to be prepared for when that should happen again. And I think the best part of all of this is that we should already be prepared for that. We should have already come up with, you know, amazing activities outside of the amazingly decorated carts. You know, I think those are just awesome, and they do so much, and they provide a lot of joy. And I love seeing different parades with the carts. I think somebody did I saw a Walt Disney World parade go by in their community, where they had decorated all the carts as different floats like you would find at the Magic Kingdom, and doing different things. And those are phenomenal. But what we have to really look at is that individuality of that person and the people that we're working with. And I know that is the challenge in itself. Many of us either were laid off, or our staffing were lost. People quit because they were scared of the virus. Many have retired early because of the virus. And so we are challenged now with the staffing shortages that are occurring. And they're not just in our communities. They're not just in healthcare. I mean, I was at a restaurant the other day, drive-through restaurant the other day, and it took a long time at the drive-through window to order. And when I pulled around, it took even longer to receive the food. And the poor young man came to the window and he said to me, "I'm so sorry, ma'am, there's only 2 of us working the entire restaurant today." And I was just, you know, very appreciative of their effort to work and to do what they're doing. And that's everywhere. So we can't, you know, we're seeing such a shortage. And I hate to use that, you know, staffing challenge is a better way to look at that. Is that a positive spin? You know, on being short of staff and being able to deliver that quality of care. And everybody is experiencing those shortages. And that is going to change the residents' lives as well. When we're alone providing programs for over 100 people, it's really hard to do 100 individualized activity programs every single day for these individuals. Yeah. And we know that that's a challenge in itself right there. But so figuring out the ways to still provide those group activities that are going to meet the needs of those individual residents, but also, you know, meeting with those needs of those residents that are not attending those. And we're going to see that we've probably already seen a downsize of residents wanting to participate in activities as of now, group programs. Maybe they're still a little nervous to come out of their room, or they're a little hesitant to be around other people, or they just got used to being alone in their room, and why bother now coming out, right? And so that could be a bigger challenge in itself. And I think that is really important too, when we look at these questions that are on the screen here. And I hope each one of you are, you know, documenting that in the chat box as well, kind of answering what your thoughts are on the 3 top questions that are on the screen here on, you know, what have you done differently since the pandemic occurred? And how will activity programming change in post-pandemic environment? And then how will the lives of your residents change? And that's a key thing right now. I just want to share a personal story right now. My aunt, who's 82 years old, is currently in the hospital battling COVID. And it's been a really challenging time as we've been reaching out and talking with her extended family. And she has 8 children, and I think she has like 35 grandchildren. So here she has 45 or, you know, 42, 45 different opinions of how her care should be given. And it's been really challenging. And I'm grateful for the hospital that she's in, because they are allowing her to have up to 2 visitors at a time as she's going through this process. But it's been really frustrating too, as an individual who's elderly, who is, you know, dying of COVID essentially, and having all these family members make all of these other decisions for you. And I think that is a key thing too, that we see as we've been working with our own family members of the residents and the people that we serve, and all the different opinions and the different suggestions and the different treatment options, you know, that may be approved or not, or they're holistic, or they're essential oils, anything like that that's going to help with COVID. We're seeing so much of that happening. And that's a challenge in itself too, to recognize that the family members really innocently want what's best for their loved one. And I think as professionals, we want the same thing. We want what's best for the people that we serve. And that is just a challenge in itself too, to have those clashing of ideas and suggestions. And Dawn, I'm sure you recall prior to COVID, we'll just say 2 years ago, you probably had a family member call you and say, why is my mom not doing A, B, or C, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I was reading some of the chats as you were talking, Elisa, some of the things, and I do want to validate, because what we're reading is absolutely kind of where we're at right now. So yes, during the pandemic, there were significant cuts throughout the activity world. So many of us are still left now with a reduced staffing level than what we had before the pandemic, and that's accurate. The other thing I want to talk about is some of the challenges that you're saying is, well, you know, during COVID, when we weren't running group programs, we were given the task of virtual visits and setting up the supervised family visits, and we're still doing that, and now we're trying to open up activities. How do we do it all? Again, I can just share with you what we started doing. So what I started doing was taking those, first of all, sitting down and having an honest conversation with the administrative director of nursing and saying, what is the direction that we would like our community to go in? So these are the resources that we have with activities, staff, and now if we want to get to this set of programming, what other resources are in our community to help maybe reassign those outdoor visits, or, you know, what, so we had to take a look at resources. The second thing we did was, now that we have supervised visits, is to take a look at those virtual calls and to be open and honest with family members and say, hey, you do have an opportunity to come in and see your loved one, and we've got great news. We're able to reopen for group programs, so we will not be offering Zoom calls during this time during the day, which means we're going to take your calls that were 3 to 5 times a week, and we're going to respectfully ask that we bring it down to once, so that every resident has an opportunity to have some engagement, so that instead of doing Zoom calls between 10 a.m. to 12, that's programming time, my staff now does programming. So in between lunch, that's when we do some of those Zoom calls for family members that are ill, compromised, maybe cannot make it out, or don't want to really venture back into face-to-face visitation. And I will tell you that our families are really excited that face-to-face opportunities are opening, and they've supported that. The other thing that was mentioned for some of your facilities that are still in outbreak status, and so you're anxiously awaiting, or you were out of outbreak and your residents got involved in activities, and now you had to pull them all back and stop it because of your local guidance. Things that I've done and that we've heard that has been done all over the country during the pandemic, when activities wasn't really encouraged to be out on the floors, was this is where we worked very hard side by side with our nursing staff, and we came up with we bought all these plastic shoe boxes, and we would put individualized activities in those boxes and said to the nursing assistant, every day we were delivering, or once a week we were delivering these boxes, and say, hey, when you go in and see Miss Smith, please take her in her activity box. Make sure her TV is turned on to our designated cable channel, or, you know, we've written her a nice little letter, something to those
yeah, I like that
form.
I like that, Dawn. I think that is really important too, to still cater to the individual, whether they're coming out to the group programs or they're still being in their room. And I love your suggestion too, you know, to tell family members that this is when family calls will be happening. I was just kind of looking over the comments too while you were chatting, and a lot of them have been able to, you know, limit the family calls, or they're only allowing now family that are out of state to call in. And if they're local, you know, they're encouraging them to come in and physically visit their loved one, you know, under the controlled measures of however your community is allowing for visitors to come in. And I think that is really important too, that you focus on the needs of the community. Look at what is your local guidelines, look at what's happening around your community, talk with your corporations to know exactly what they expect of you, and then to carry that out as best as you can. And I think the most importantly, you're one, you're a party of one. And I'm seeing that a lot. You know, a lot of people have left. Again, I saw a lot of comments where staff walked out completely. Yeah, you're a party of one. and you are one human being, and you can only do so much as one person. And I know that's a hard thing to do. I know how activity professionals work. I'm one of those. I know that we like to work 60 to 80 hours a week and then go home and still try to care for our families, or go to school, or do volunteer service of our own, or participate in our church organizations and other groups. And I know that we're all doing that. I know we spend a lot of money out of our own pockets when we want to do special things for our residents. But remember, you are one person, and you have to care for yourself just as much as you have to care for all the other responsibilities you have. And I think that is a vital thing to consider. A lot of us don't take that into consideration. You know, I've raised 2 children while working full-time in the field. I don't remember the first one at all. You know, I just think about that, you know, because those were the days where I was working 80 hours a week. And, you know, my oldest son, he's 25. He was NAP's Volunteer of the Year in 2009 when he was 13 years old. And now he's 25, married, has his own life, you know. And my youngest son, I was pregnant with him at that 2009 conference. And now he's 12 years old. And it's just amazing that time goes by. And that's the thing you have to remember, is that you have family members that need you as well. And you don't want to feel like you're being pulled in every single direction to care for yourself. And I think that is a vital thing too. As we get closer to returning to normalcy, it's not going to happen tomorrow. You know, that's the key thing too. So whatever you have put into place now, you're going to probably feel like you have to continue that momentum. And that may not be the best thing. You know, momentum can really lead to that huge snowball effect where it gets out of control, and you're not able to care for yourself anymore. And that's why so many people are, you know, leaving the industry, because they've just overwhelmed themselves. They're overstressed, and that's a challenge in itself too.
Can I tell you, one of the things that I think helped my mental well-being during this reopening phase is I created a performance improvement plan. And I took it in chunks. Here's where we are right now. So in order, you know, when it first came down to we can open groups. Okay, so I listed out under my problems all of the obstacles that were in our way of just reopening the doors and going back to activities. And then I brought that up at the QAPI, the Quality Assurance Performance Improvement, and I put it back as a team project. Okay, team, okay, community, this is where we want to get at. How do we make this happen? And really kind of put it out there that this is not an activity problem. This is not the director's responsibility. This is our community's opportunity for re-engagement. The one thing, though, looking back, because I started this this PI project back in February, what we fail to realize is how hard we have worked and what successes we have had over the last couple months. Because as activity professionals, we're always focused on it's not good enough. What do we need to do next? We need to make it better and better. And we often don't give ourselves credit for exactly what we've done. And that's important. Those milestones are important. I also can't help but feel that when the surveyors do come in, and I mean, we're probably 20 months, almost 20 months since we've been for our annual survey. When we come in, they're going to be just as confused as we were in reopening and what to expect, but it'll tell a story. It'll tell our activity journey of how we provided the social model of care and all the thought that does go into reopening. There are lots of things to consider. And even when we were in outbreak and we had to pull back, I wrote that as an update that month so that we could see the back and forth and be able to explain. I'm seeing in the comments that some of our residents are scared. You know, they're scared to come out. Or Elisa, like you said, they have gotten so comfortable with having things brought right into them that they want to do. And what greatness is this, is I can lay in bed till noon and I can still, you know, flip on the channel and do activities, and why get dressed and come out? This is the life. I'm retired. So there are pros and cons to all of it.
Absolutely, Dawn. You are so spot on there. And I want to bring Matthew, if you wouldn't mind coming in for just a minute, jumping in, because I know Activity Connection has really stepped up to the challenge too, in altering how they deliver the activity training and services and other things that Activity Connection does. And Matthew, why don't you share with us just a little bit? You shared at the beginning, but I can tell you there's probably twice as many people on now than when you shared that at the beginning. So why don't you share what you shared in the beginning about the changes that are happening with Activity Connection, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I appreciate the second opportunity, Elisa. Thank you very much. And, founded by Nancy Ewald in 1999, that after spending a career in the field as an activity professional. And what we try to do is make the lives of activity and life enrichment professionals easier every single day by offering the essential core of activity programming on a monthly basis. We're trying to bring the freshest, highest quality, most comprehensive activity programming in the industry on a monthly basis to folks in the industry for them to use and utilize for a price that leaves no community behind. That's very important to us. If you look at our subscription pricing, it's very inexpensive. And that's purposeful. That's so everybody can afford us and use us, because like you both have touched on, Dawn and Elisa, these activity teams, activity staffs, enrichment staffs, they're being asked to do more than ever, and often with fewer resources than they've ever had available before. I'm talking about people. I'm also talking about technology budgets in general. We recognize this. We want to fit that need as the essential core so that you always have access to world-class activity programming content to help get you started each month, and not just get you started, get you way down the road to success in your role. So we're hoping to be there every step of the way, recognizing those challenges the industry is facing.
Oh, thank you, Matthew, for resharing that information. I think that is valuable. Seeing a lot of great individuals that are already using Activity Connection. So it's exciting to see the changes that are going to come with that. And I just want to take a moment too to recognize a couple of other great organizations that are out there that have really stepped up to the challenge too in ensuring that the needs of our residents do not go unmet either, that are providing great technology. One of them is Sage Stream. They are doing right now, they've kind of hijacked the NAP Facebook page, and they're doing 2 weeks of free entertainment on the NAP Facebook page. So I would encourage you to check that out and look at Sage Stream. They're an online entertainment service. We also have Wowzitude, which is an amazing organization that has put together live virtual streaming travel. And so that's amazing too. They right now have the ability to travel to over 52 different countries, all live, with having an individual there that can help you along the way too, with a tour guide in that country. That's amazing to have Wowzitude doing that. And we also have Senior U Fitness, which is another great organization that provides fitness training and doing different things. And this is moving beyond Tai Chi and Chair Chi and all of those, the slow moving fitness that we're familiar with, and really doing mind, body, and soul, and being able to look at the ways that we can do fitness in a whole new realm. And I think that is exciting too, to see all of these great resources that are available to us on top of Activity Connection, on top of Link Senior and everything that's going on, that we do have a variety of availability to do different things. And I think that is the most important thing too that we look at. I know I keep saying most important, but I'm just excited, is that we look at new ways of doing things, that we look at new alternatives too, that we can't be doing the same old anymore, that we have to move forward. Charles, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide now, that would be great. Because as we look at the post-pandemic, these were the senior living leaders' top 5 trends for 2021. So if you look over these top 5 trends, you can see that there is a huge shift, as we've already talked about. I like a lot of these trends. Guess what? Some of these trends were the top 5 trends of 2019. They were the top 5 trends of 2020. And I think the pandemic has pushed these even further for us to look at what we're doing. That first one, really looking at that redefinition of the meaning of community. That is a key there too. Remember that research has found, and we have lots of research. I know Link Senior did a white paper. We've seen several other white papers that have come about. We've seen articles, great articles of interest on activity connection, and NAP and NCAP has done lots of articles on this, that positive resident outcomes come from that daily life and that integral component of having daily life. And residents' lives then are considered meaningful when they reflect upon their personal interests, their lifestyles, and what is enjoyable to that individual. And I think that focus on the residents' individual needs and understanding their aspect of well-being, we know that that comes all the way back to that fabulous activity assessment that we do upon admission. And we look at what can we find out about this individual that we didn't already know. We see lots of controversy on the social media pages, don't we, Dawn, when we celebrate special events? I mean, the Cinco de Mayo, Juneteenth, St. Patrick's Day, all of these things, Pride Month, you know, looking at ways that we celebrate in our community. And many of us can become easily judgmental on what somebody else is doing in their community. And I think we need to look back at this, what's happening here. You know, what does the resident want to do? What are we looking at the resident? How are we redefining our community? How are we looking at expanding those services so that we're more welcoming and we're being able to focus more freely on the individuals that we work with? Dawn, how have you been able to redefine your community?
Well, you know, I'm going to tell you is that because of this pandemic and having an opportunity, whether it was through my coworkers learning more about them, because we were motivating and inspiring each other during the last 14 months. And doing that, you began to learn so much about the individual, what was strong to them, how important it was for diversity and inclusion. And I will tell you that I think because of that, when we're redefining the community, it is now resident-centered base. So when, as Pride Month was coming up, we sent out questionnaires every month. Our resident council was questionnaires, and we would talk about, you know, what do we want to do? How do we want to celebrate? Many residents had responded back, you know, I'd like to learn more. I'd like to just understand the culture. I would like to understand the struggles, the history, because there's people that I work with and people that I live with that are part of, let's say, the LGBTQ community, and I want to know more. And that is how we kicked off Pride Month this month, was education and conversation. And through that brought so much sharing from both residents and staff. And you know, I have a resident that, you know, didn't feel comfortable being herself. And she sent a message for me to come up. I went upstairs and I talked to her, and she said, this was so amazing. She said, I want to thank you. I feel like I can be my authentic self and be prideful, like I have something to contribute to my peers. So, yeah.
Love that. Love that. Yeah. And being simplistic, but special at the same time. You know, we don't have to go over the top to provide, you know, experiences, engagement experiences that are meaningful to the people that we're working with too. And that is all about that. Most people don't understand, you know, Juneteenth. You know, most people don't realize that it is, well, now it's a federal holiday, but looking at that and not understanding what the historical significance to it is, and being able to celebrate that, the historical significance of that, and being mindful of that too. Looking at the environment, number 2 was the environment, looking at more outdoor features, being more pleasant, aesthetically pleasing. You know, I come from Las Vegas, Nevada, so we haven't spent a lot of time outside these last 2 weeks. as we've had 115 plus degrees weather. And, you know, of course, everybody says, well, it's a dry heat, so it's tolerable, but it's not. It's like, you know, just turn your oven on and stick your head and you'll know what it's like. So it's been really challenging too, to have good outdoor experiences, you know, as time changes. I'm sure that's the same to you, Dawn, when it's in the middle of the winter and you've received, you know, I don't know, 20 inches of snow. So I can understand, you know, that experience, but having the ability to have opportunities to go outside, because meaningful life really helps them to connect to those domains of wellness that we're all familiar with. You know, having that joy, that identity, you know, being able to provide more person-centered experiences when it comes to utilizing the outdoors. Number 3 comes as no surprise with technology, right? Looking at technology-enabled spaces for both staff and residents. You know, internet connection is so vital, you know, having the highest streaming band that you can have so that I can watch Orange is the New Black in my room and you can watch The Handmaid's Tale in your room, and we can be doing that at the same time and not have connectivity issues and having glitches. You know, people don't like glitches. We're so catered now to having, you know, our phones in our hand and being able to look up who's the actor in that movie. You know, we don't have to do a lot of trivia anymore, and we want to have that service right now. You know, I think it's hilarious, you know, gone are the days of waiting for the dial tone on AOL to dial up, right?
Oh, I know. Absolutely. Absolutely. Those are the days when you're doing trivia and you're actually relying on a resident's memory, because now they're pulling out their phones, and the ones that don't have access to a phone, I'm like, guys, let's give everyone a chance. This cannot be a Google search. So yeah.
Right. I don't know what we did before Google, right?
I know.
What did we do? But we have to look at, there's so many great services out there with activity trackers or heart rate monitors. We know all of those things are around too, but having that voice activated systems, using Alexa or Siri in your communities, you know, to access different things, wonderful resources that are available too. And really looking at the culture and the lifestyle. You know, this is going to be the new marketing sales pitch for communities, is to how they're going to attract prospective residents is going to be to the lifestyle that's happening. You know, we just had a brand new community that opened up around the corner for me. They're more independent living, but their biggest thing was that they boast that they have a full putting green in the middle of their community with 9 holes. So, you know, that's a really popular thing. I didn't think golf was still really popular with our aging population, but it is. And they're, you know, having those attractions, having the big banners and the signs out front saying, these are the things that we offer. We really need to look at the wellness and the culture of what's happening, and knowing that residents, staff, and families really need to interact in more of a daily life instead of a formal activities program. And so shifting our focus to of looking at just the normal daily life, the normal daily routine. You know, your calendars can have special events on there when you're able to add those back on, but why does it have to have an activity every single hour? It doesn't. You know, we need to have more opportunities to schedule rest periods. You know, let's schedule nap times in there. Let's schedule quiet times. Let's schedule opportunities to relax. And yeah, to have just opportunities to shoot the breeze. Nothing formal happening where they can just talk about normal daily life. And of course, we know the last one is strengthening that workforce, strengthening the ability to bring in new employees and new opportunities. And I know NCAP has really been on the forefront with that, and making sure that the education, the MEPAP course that they provide, that you provide, Dawn, at NCAP, you're really focusing on shifting, you know, who receives that audience, right? Who's the audience of the NCAP course? Do you want to share just a little bit about that? Do you have a moment to do that?
Yeah, I think it's no big secret that we are an aging profession. So, you know, as you look at Elisa and I, who have been in this field, you combined it over 60 years, a lot of activity professionals are in it for the long haul. And so a lot of people are retiring out of the profession. One of my great friends here in Maryland, she was my mentor. She's the one that guided me to NCAP. She just retired this year. So workforce development is certainly the focus of both NCAP and NAP. getting the MEPAP education in at a high school level. So providing this as a career path to individuals that maybe don't want to go the bachelor's degree, master's degree, office job, that really wants to get in and hands-on. The apprenticeship programs. Every state is screaming workforce development. That's what, Elisa, you and I started off this conversation with, is it's not just in healthcare that we're in a huge workforce crisis, but we're also throughout every industry. I went to get gasoline for my car, and there's a huge sign that says $1,500 sign-on bonus and $18.75 after 90 days, $18.75 an hour. And I'm thinking, with those kind of competitions, you're really looking at individuals who really want to make a difference. We certainly know we don't do this for the money, right? We do it for the love. We do it for the connections and, making a difference in someone's life. So workforce, strengthening the MEPAP class, looking at workforce development, and also growth and retention. How do we provide growth opportunities for someone that comes in into a position in a non-clinical format, maybe housekeeping, laundry, dietary? What is their career growth to get into activities? And whether they stay in activities or they continue to take that on in different realms. So yes, we've got lots of things that we're working on.
Thank you for sharing that, Dawn. I think that is vital to educate yourself as well. NAP and NCAP work closely together to make sure that the power of education is there, and knowing that knowledge is power. That's the key thing too. And if you want to be empowered as an activity professional, getting that education, becoming nationally certified, and continuing that is going to help you immensely to be able to move forward and feel like you can sit down in your QAPI meetings and do the different PIPs that you want to do to help support the residents and the people that you work with. Charles, next slide, please, if you don't mind. I know we're getting ready to wrap up our time together, so I just want to point out a couple of different things. And this is our website here, nap.info, if you want to reach out to NAP and learn more about that if you're not already a member. And the next slide, please, gives you information on NCAP, which is ncap.org, nccap.org. So you can reach out to that. And then the next slide as well. I want to just talk about an opportunity that's available to everyone, to people of color. The NAP organization has put together a diversity advancement scholarship. This is kind of our response to quality of life through action and working in the field of activities. Those of you that are wanting to increase your education and improve your education, we have a scholarship specifically available for people of color. We're very excited about this diversity advancement scholarship. We have an amazing cultural competency committee that's been involved with this. The council's been involved. And right now the scholarship period is open through June 30th. So I would take the time to visit our website and look at the scholarships that are available. And if you are interested in being a sponsorship to this scholarship, we have right on our homepage the Donate Now button. And I want to thank Linked Senior and NCAP and Activity Connection, who have both committed to donate to the scholarship. And we hope that many of you will also be able to do that so that we can provide educational opportunities for people of color so that they can continue to advance themselves in the healthcare profession. So our next thing we want to talk about, this is very special. Charles, if you don't mind advancing the slide one more. What we normally do with the National Association of Activity Professionals is we have a conference in person in every April. And unfortunately, the last 2 years, we haven't been able to do that because of the dang pandemic. And what we normally do at our conference is we recognize certain individuals that have gone above and beyond the call of duty. And we have a special Business Affiliate Award of Excellence that is given to businesses that contribute to the activity profession and promote the growth of the profession in seeking continuing education to better understand those activity trends and meeting the changing needs of the residents in providing public relations about NAP and the activity profession. So I want to share with you that we decided to use this platform to award our business affiliate award of excellence. And we would like to present this award to Charles Day Vilmorin of Link Senior. Charles, why don't you unmute yourself and turn your camera back on if you don't mind. We want to see your great face there. And we want to give you a round of applause, Charles, for all that you have done. You know, and there's the award right there. Look at that, how fun to be able to give it to you physically. Can I just share a little bit about Charles?
Megan, come in. I can't tell you. I saw Megan walk in 2 minutes ago, and I was thinking, obviously, something's coming up. And I'm just so thankful and so grateful, honestly. I would gladly accept it, you know, in honor of the elders in my family, my team, and obviously Megan. I don't know if everyone can see Megan. Megan is probably one of the best reasons, the reason why everything has been running so smoothly here with Activity Strong. And obviously all of you. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Addison. And thank you, Matthew. This is, I couldn't be more touched. Thank you very much.
Charles, you know,
congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. In the spring of 2020, when the world essentially shut down, Charles, you came to life and created the Activity Strong movement. And we have really enjoyed everything that you've been able to single-handedly and with your team. Megan is amazing, and everything that we've been able to provide over the last 15 months, whether it be these amazing educational opportunities or the free entertainment that we did for the months of November and December last year. And I think that entertainment was the fruition of a Sage Stream. Anthony Cirillo, who is running Sage Stream, you know, caught that vision back last fall, and being able to do that. And also you have provided opportunities for a scholarship fund for individuals to receive further education through a NAP membership. And those are all available for all of us. And I think that has been an amazing thing that you've been able to provide through, you know, through the support of the profession. And we wanted to thank you. Special thanks to you and to Link Senior for all that you've done these last 15 months. Appreciate that. Let's give Charles another round of applause. You know, we can do that quietly, right?
Well deserved.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Thank you
Charles.
so much. This is amazing. Thank you so much. I'm speechless. Thank you so much, Alistair and Dawn and Matthew. Yeah, thank you. As I mentioned, it would be nothing without the sacrifice that all of our profession has done. And notice how I say our profession. In the past 15 months, it's been interesting for us, quote unquote, vendors, and Matthew, I'm sure you feel the same, because we haven't been able to come to communities. But I was able to get my vaccine a month and a half ago and just felt super good to be back. So our profession as Activity and Life Enrichment Director, and thank you, Alistair.
You bet, Charles. Thank you for all that you've done. And I want to thank each one of you as well. I know we started out with a lot of thanks, and we need to end our session with a lot of thanks too, because of everything that each one of you have been able to do to continue to provide that engagement, that enrichment, that life satisfaction that our people, our residents, so deserved. I want to thank each one of you from NAP, as well as I'm sure Don will do the same in thanking from the NCAP, that we are here for you too. We are here to support you and provide any kind of ability that you're going to need to do. Charles, do you mind holding up that award one more time? Our powers that be, we're trying to get a good screenshot from that.
Absolutely. Actually, let me put it, I think it's like this.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Good. So hopefully we can get a good screenshot of that. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Matthew, we'll turn the time over back to you. We want to thank you too for your input today. We appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Elisa. And I don't have much to add, just a lot of gratitude to be a part of this, my small segment, my small role as moderator today. It's been a pleasure to be here. I don't want to hold anybody up, and just thank our attendees, everybody in the audience once more, for what they do every single day and for being here today, being a part of this summit. It's been a real pleasure.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Alice. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Matthew. Take care.